Welcome to Deep Thought. Freer lifestyles and their implications. Freer lifestyles and their implications. I'm going to tell you what. We're in the middle of the political season and, there's back and forth and people talk liberal, conservative, Republican, Democrat, all that stuff. I would tell you the issue is not really the politics itself. The politics are used as a vehicle for groups to try to impose their will on other people. It's more or less you have one group, the more conservative group, ranging from just merely conservative or religious to far right, trying to constrain the behavior. Understand, not the politics, but the behavior of people that they would consider liberal, more looser, more freer, far left. It really is. Think about it. Think about like for example, think about the states that haven't legalized marijuana use. I want y'all to think about it. That's more about a lifestyle. Marijuana is probably less harmful. It does have some harm, but you got liquor stores that could probably harm more and actually cause more damage in the long run on multiple levels, yet it's legal. But people, if you actually ask the people why they're against legalizing it, they can't give a good reason. They can't give a really good reason. It's just because what happens when people hitting the joints and everything? They are freer. Understand something. What you have out here, you have constant people going back and forth. One group of people who feel like their behavior is correct, trying to control another group of people. Now, and that's deep why somebody would think that, it depends on their religion. Actually, their natal personality. Some people are just going to be just naturally more conservative anyway. And then some people are going to be more, more liberal. And I don't mean that in political terms, more freer, how they do things, what they into. One wants to change and just fly out. One wants to kind of conserve. And let me just say this before I go further. You really need both. The best thing is balance. Because change is inevitable, but too much change can lead to chaos. But, trying to control the change is more order, but too much order prevents growth. You see how that works. And that's a conversation for another day. But if you think about it, let's talk about what I titled this, freer lifestyles. What does it mean? People are more free to be who they are. People are more free. Look at the sexual situation, regardless of what you feel about what I call, I never get it right, alphabet community thing is they just free to do what they want to do. You may not personally agree with it. Shoot, there's some aspects I don't personally agree with, but it's there. It's there. And you know what? As long as it doesn't bother you personally, it's there. But it bothers some other people. Implications of it, people say, hey, we got to stop it. We got to limit it. Like the whole thing with gay marriage. Whatever. And it's interesting, that's talked about, but interracial marriage was talked about in the same vein. But that's also inevitable, though. And people, fought to get free to marry interracially. So it's it might not be your thing, but it could also, that's a group of people. See, when people are freer, it can bother some other people because they feel like, well, my way is right. And so this is leading to much political issues because if you look at the politics now, it's definitely more about the culture. How much policy you might get something on taxes and building the country up. Hopefully, they still get that in there. But if you really pay attention to what both sides are saying, it's more about lifestyles. It's more of a battle of lifestyles. And, and just for the record, my personal feeling is as long as your lifestyle doesn't impact my lifestyle, it's whatever, which was the true meaning of libertarianism was. Yeah. and stuff changes. But then implications of freer lifestyles, the more free people get, more people are living the way they want to live. You get people who come against it. But see, here's the problem with that, coming against it. It's just one simple problem. Once you free someone, they're not going back. During the time of when blacks were freed from the prisoner of war period and started reading openly and all of that, there's people now that want to take it back. That's not happening. In fact, let me use that as an example. Because that definitely hits close to home. I was like, well, okay, blacks have all this freedom, because I've talked with some people, and someone actually said, and this is someone who really pays attention to what's going on. He said, man, they trying to get rid of the 13th Amendment, which basically outlawed slavery. Well, except in certain instances, like when someone is a prisoner of the state. And I thought about that. I was like, they can try, but people would definitely fight against it. Why? The people been free. Like, let's use that one as a hypothetical. What if you get some people, and trust me, there are some people, say, yeah, hey, you got to go back out here and you got to do this work and stuff. Wait, hold on. What? I mean, seriously, it'd be just a violence, because once someone has been freed, they ain't going back. And see, and that's one thing you have now. People are becoming free. And, I use the example of the alphabet community. But then people are becoming spiritually free, too. If you look at what's going on, if you look in this country, because you have one side, so-called Christian nationalists, using that tool, but there's a deeper implication there. I don't even feel like getting into that. But then you got other people, they going out in the woods to worship. You got a rising, quote unquote, pagan population, even though there are several different paths in there, or what they call nuns, None, That's what they starting to call them. Some of these research think tanks, that's what they actually call them, just people unaffiliated. Once they reach there, I don't think the people who think, well, they should be following, this particular faith in this country, don't realize those people ain't going back. Once they there. What you gonna do? You make it a law? Oh, no. People, you got some people out here talking like civil war or something. Oh, you'll definitely get that. Which incident, let me go on a tangent real quick. I seriously don't see a civil war here, at least right now. I'm gonna tell you why. You got people who talking it, but it's kind of like Mike Tyson said, everybody got a game plan till they get hit in the face. You got some people, they live in a nice home, driving two nice cars, got cable, got, smartphones, got that money coming in. And I just look at them, I'll say, you know what? So when that first bomb hit your house, or somebody hit that cell tower, or your local grocery store ran out of food because somebody destroyed the roads and food can't get through, or they just decide not to bring it. Oh yeah, how's that gonna go? Even with bullets, at some point you run out of bullets unless you got control over a bullet making factory. And that's not an easy thing. So let's get off of that. And then how many people got that mindset like to be at war? Okay, yeah. Anyway, but here's the bottom line though. Once people get free, you will always get a reaction. If they free and really it's just a freedom of expression now. And let's be clear, it's not so much a racial thing either, because like in the black community, wasn't that talked about? Black communities, like actually as a whole, or had been, because of the black church, very socially conservative. Very socially conservative as a whole, but that's starting to disappear. So, but it's more about ideology and everything. Because as people get free, they're not going back. They're not going back into it. Of course, you got some people who feel like, well, they got to go back. We got to take this away. It's like, once someone takes freedom, they'll fight like hell to keep it. They'll fight like hell. Even during I'll use the black community as an example. Now, we know the official history, like, of Reconstruction and how it was taken away, Jim Crow, wasn't talked about. Let's just say there were a lot more white bodies laid out than people realized. Blacks were fighting back way harder, way harder. It just didn't make the history books. Just didn't make the history books. I wonder why. Anyway, yeah, once you have those freer lifestyles, you know, the action causes a reaction. But then sometimes the action by one side to try to suppress a side causes a reaction. I'll use the example of the day I recorded this was when they had that vote in Kansas about abortion rights. And they overwhelmingly voted against restricting abortion rights. And even then, that was done through a political vehicle, but it was a reaction. I don't care what happens. So, and it's something to think about. This is one of those, it's something to think about, but I will stand firmly on this statement. Always look behind the politics. Politics are just a vehicle. Politics are just a vehicle. In fact, I want y'all to think about something because, like, you get a lot of people, in this specifically in the black community, you get some black Republicans talk about how the Democrats, you know, were trying to keep black slaves back in the 1800s. And they were. They were. But that was the vehicle they was using. Blacks changed, like, greatly to the Democratic Party in the 1960s. They changed greatly. I mean, not all blacks supported Kennedy when he ran. And that was a great change right there. Before that, you had just as many blacks voting Republican as you did Democrat. But the great change came in the 60s. Those same Democrats, you can check the history. Those same Democrats, and they only did that because of Johnson. Those same Democrats just shifted over to the Republicans. See, you got to always pay attention. Even now, I would point to the Republicans now stemming from the Ross Perot days. There were many attempts, check the history, there were many attempts to form a more far right party then. And they just said, hey, it's better just to use this vehicle. So I want y'all to think about that. And, you know, I don't get into politics that much, but it's right there. Politics is just a vehicle. Like 20 years from now, the Republicans might be considered the liberal far left party, while the Democrats are considered the, conservative party. People just switch around. So because it's just a vehicle. The bigger thing is lifestyles, what they behave as. Don't confuse the vehicle for the actual thing, and don't think it stays the same. I want y'all to think about that, all right? I want y'all to think about that. Anyway, that's all I have for now, and get back with y'all later. Peace and blessings.